President Cangiano, members of the Board of Trustees, distinguished faculty, graduating class of 2016, friends and families of the graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I am highly honored and extremely grateful to take part in this important celebrant occasion here on this beautiful campus and in this bicentennial year of Pittsburgh. And I thank you from the heart. 200 years ago, in 1816, Ebenezer Denny, a banker and veteran of the Revolutionary War, was elected the first mayor of Pittsburgh in an event that marked the official start of the city, but did not cause much stir elsewhere. One Boston newspaper, uncertain of where exactly Pittsburgh might be, placed it in Ohio, to which a Pittsburgh paper asked in dismay, how could there be any mistake about a city containing 10,000 inhabitants where manufacturing production thrived and its commerce reached every part of the nation? The city was turning out iron, tin, glass, steam engines, and steamboats, and whiskey. By the following year, 1817, there were 259 factories on the banks of our rivers. And while more than a few visitors thought the place a bit gloomy, with its hovering cloud of dark, dense smoke, others were more impressed, as one paper reported, by the enterprising and persevering and industrious character of the people. And so it was to go, as this city continued to grow and produce even more and more. On through the advent of the first railroad and the years of the Civil War, and more still with the advent of the Bessemer process and production of steel in quantities never before imagined, and then aluminum. Goods of all kinds were produced for home consumption and for shipment everywhere. Leather goods, iron pipe, cannon and cannonballs, sickles and scythes, frying pans and steel bridge girders, and the giant steel locks for the Panama Canal, and the aluminum engine that powered the Wright brothers' first historic plane. 50 years ago, my wife Rosalie and I bought an old wood frame house in the little town of West Tisbury, Massachusetts, at the center of the island of Martha's Vineyard. It was about as different and far removed from Pittsburgh as one could possibly imagine. The purchase price was all of $14,500, and it came furnished. It was, shall we say, a very different time. A good number of the furnishings had to be taken to the dump, but much else we were glad to hold on to, including a grand old four-legged cast iron bathtub, which, as we soon discovered, had been made in, yes, Pittsburgh. It probably weighs 600 pounds or more, and I like to imagine its journey from a factory somewhere along the Monongahela to the freight yard downtown, then on by rail 560 miles to New Bedford or Fall River, Massachusetts, then across the water by boat to the vineyard, then off the boat, and then the final 7 miles up island, as we say. We are all, each of us, each and every one of us, more lastingly influenced by the setting where we grew up than we know or sufficiently appreciate. The deep impress of place, the hills of home, home ground, the look and lay of the land, old home ways, old home values, home horizons. How often in my work I have come to better understanding of the men and women of our American past by spending time where they grew up. It was through weeks and months spent in Independence, Missouri, that I came to understand Harry Truman as I never would have had I skipped all that. And it was the same with the Wright brothers. You have to take an intensive on-the-scene course, as it were, in Dayton, Ohio, to get to the heart of why they were the way they were. I have always felt extremely lucky to have grown up in Pittsburgh. I think often of the wonderful, lasting friendships that started at Linden School and in our East End neighborhood, and the pride we felt about our city through the years of World War II, the years our awakening Pittsburgh was helping, the years of our awakening was helping Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was helping to win the war, as we were told at home and as we were told at school, and we could see dramatic evidence of that every night in the sky when all the clouds in the sky pulsed a bright red from the blast furnaces in action. No matter the soot, the black soot on the windowsills in the morning, Pittsburgh was playing its part. I love the sound of the trains at night and think often still of how great it was on rainy Saturdays to go off on our own to the Carnegie Museum. I think of how grown up one felt taking a book out of the Carnegie Library with one's very own library card for the first time. And what pure joy it was to go to a Pirates game with my brothers and our father. And how I loved Shadyside. Though I would never have dared say so at the time, I could hardly wait for the last days of summer vacation to end, so I could get back in the swim here with my pals. Teachers like Lowell Innes, Carl Cochran, Robert Abercrombie, and Walter Jones were plain marvelous, as good as they get. When our track coach, the legendary Cap Palmer, told me, "Take the hurdles as they come," I'm sure it never occurred to him or to me that these were words to the wise that I would carry with me long into the future. And there were the family dinners every night at home, and the stories told at the dinner table by my parents and my grandmother Rankin, family stories, Pittsburgh stories, reaching back generations. It was history happily devoid of dates or boring statistics. It was history about human people, and I loved it. History is human when in the course of human events. I'm sure you of the graduating class appreciate the great part your parents and your teachers here at Shadyside have played in shaping and inspiring you. But so too has Pittsburgh figured in the process. And if I have a message for you in what I'm saying here today, it is this: don't ever forget how much you owe to your great hometown. Be glad and be proud to be a Pittsburgher. Take heart in being a Pittsburgher. There's an old saying that the country you learn the most about from travel abroad is your own. And if your experience is anything like mine, and that's of so many others, it will be after you have left home that you come to appreciate more and more many of those traits and characteristics so distinctly evident in Pittsburgh and its response to life. The natural friendliness of Pittsburgh, the pride taken in one's work, the dislike of hypocrisy and impatience with snobbish airs, respect for those who work hard, whatever they do, and yes, the love of learning and innovation. For generations, this southwestern corner of Pennsylvania has not only been turning out manufactured goods of every kind and hatching no end of new ideas, it has been producing a steady stream of exceptional men and women in all fields, such as Rachel Carson, Gene Kelly, General George C. Marshall, Willa Cather, and Nellie Bly. Think of this: Stephen Foster, Mary Cassatt, Gertrude Stein, Jonas Salk, August Wilson, Andy Warhol, Fred Rogers, Annie Dillard, and Nathaniel Philbrick, to name only a few. In a recent television interview that you may have seen, a lineup of outstanding quarterbacks, football immortals, all from Western Pennsylvania, were asked the importance of their backgrounds to their success in their careers. Joe Namath, who grew up in Beaver Falls, said it was where we came from, our environment, our families, our background, that we learned the determination and effort it takes, along with respect for one another, to give our best, to be tough, and endure. To endure. Think of all the calamities and setbacks this city of Pittsburgh has endured down the years. The terrible fires and floods, epidemic cholera and influenza, and labor strife, the terrible years of the Great Depression, the poisonous, foul air and rivers, the collapse of the steel empire. Yet, Pittsburgh has survived. Pittsburgh has improved. Pittsburgh has moved on to still better days and stunning accomplishments in medicine, education, and the arts, and the introduction of far better food, as the New York Times lately informed the world. Pittsburgh has become one of the cleanest, most beautiful cities anywhere, and as said, one of the most livable cities anywhere. Its setting here, where the rivers meet, is, let us agree, like no other. Harry Truman once said he tried never to forget who he was and where he came from. Wilbur Wright, when asked what was the secret to success in life, said, "Pick out a good mother and father and grow up in Ohio." And it's in that same spirit that the same may be said of Pittsburgh. Excuse me. You of the Shady Side class of 2016 and I of the class of 1951 are not only graduates of as fine a secondary school as to be found anywhere, we are ourselves products of our parents and of this great city of Pittsburgh. And let us all be very grateful and never forget that. What a lot you have accomplished in your time here, in mathematics, physics, chemistry, foreign languages, music, poetry. What a great deal you have read and learned. And how wonderful to think there's still more to come, a lot more. My warmest congratulations to each and every one of you and to your parents. On you go.